Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a pretty devastating medical reality and the really intense legal aftermath that follows it. We're talking about retained surgical items. It's a heavy topic, but absolutely crucial to understand. So, let's dive right in.
I want you to imagine this for a second. Think about the profound vulnerability of being put under anesthesia. You're wheeled into an operating room, and you are literally placing your life entirely in the hands of a surgical team. But what happens when that ultimate trust is broken by just an unthinkable basic error? Like what happens when the surgical team stitches you up and literally leaves something behind inside your body? It's a terrifying medical catastrophe, and as we're going to see today, it happens way more often than it ever should.
Section 1. What gets left behind? Let's take a look at the common surgical tools. This totally shatters a common misconception. Most people naturally assume that if something gets lost in surgery, it must be something tiny, right? Like an almost invisible needle. But the truth is, soft, absorbent surgical sponges account for up to 70% of all retained objects. And here's the truly dangerous part about that. Once a sponge is saturated with blood, it becomes incredibly camouflaged. It blends right in with the surrounding organs and tissue, making it extremely easy for a surgeon to just miss it entirely.
But it's definitely not just sponges. We are talking about heavy metal clamps and forceps that are used to control bleeding. Or retractors. These are massive metal tools that can be over 10 inches long, used to hold incisions open. Leaving something that large behind causes immediate, severe physical distress. And then there are scalpels and sharp blades that can literally cause internal lacerations as soon as the patient begins to move. Even the smaller items, like needles and guide wires, they're highly hazardous because they can actually migrate through your bloodstream or your lymphatic system.
Section 2. The ticking time bomb. Let's talk about the severe physical toll this takes.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that the human body treats these forgotten items as foreign invaders. It's like an alarm goes off, triggering a massive systemic inflammatory response. Because your internal environment isn't fully sterile, these retained tools quickly become a site for bacterial colonization, which leads to localized abscesses. And if those bacteria enter your bloodstream, well, that leads to life-threatening sepsis. Furthermore, patients just suffer from unexplained, agonizing pain. Unlike soft human tissue, rigid metal tools don't bend. As the patient moves, these items migrate, slicing right through organ walls and leading to extreme emergencies like bowel perforation and peritonitis.
Which actually leads us to a fascinating yet, let's be honest, absolutely horrifying medical response called a gossipoboma. When a sponge is left behind, your body essentially tries to protect itself by walling the object off with this dense mass of scar tissue. And these masses are incredibly insidious because on post-operative imaging, they often look exactly like tumors. There are documented tragic cases where these gossipobomas were completely misdiagnosed as cancer, prompting patients to undergo entirely unnecessary, invasive surgeries before the real culprit, a forgotten sponge, was finally identified. Section 3. The legal smoking gun. How we go about proving negligence.
To wrap our heads around the legal side of this, we first need to define what's called a never event. This is a specific category of egregious, completely preventable medical errors defined by the National Quality Forum. These are mistakes that should literally never occur if basic hospital safety protocols are followed. Shockingly, though, these inexcusable errors happen over 4,000 times a year. So a retained object isn't just a slight mistake, it represents a clear, categorical failure of a hospital's core safety checklists.
Now, in a standard medical malpractice case, a hospital's defense attorneys will very often argue that an injury was simply an inherent risk of the procedure. Just an unavoidable complication. But leaving a clamp or a sponge inside someone, that is never an inherent risk. The undeniable reality of a never event instantly destroys that standard legal defense, mainly because the presence of the object itself practically proves the negligence.
And that brings us to one of the most powerful legal doctrines available to patients. Res ipsa loquitur. It's Latin for the thing speaks for itself. Under this doctrine, the mere presence of a foreign object is proof of negligence. Think about it from a logical standpoint. An anesthetized patient is under the surgical team's exclusive, total control. There is zero viable excuse for stitching them up with a tool inside. Because of this, the burden of proof shifts dramatically in favor of the victim.
Section 4. Protecting your health and rights. Let's walk through a step-by-step action plan.
If you suspect you're a victim of this profound medical betrayal, here's exactly what you need to do, step by step. Step 1. Demand diagnostic imaging immediately. Modern surgical sponges actually contain a radiopaque strip specifically designed to light up on an X-ray, and obviously metal tools will be instantly visible to a radiologist. Step 2. Prepare for corrective surgery. I know this is terrifying, but it's completely mandatory to halt internal tissue damage. If possible, try to secure a different facility or surgeon to ensure an unbiased report of what they actually pull out of you. And step 3. Document count failures. Nurses are required to count every single item. If something was left behind, it means count sheets were either totally incorrect or falsified. Your legal team is going to demand an audit these exact records.
Okay, so once a retained object is medically confirmed, that's when the deep investigation begins. Attorneys dive right into hospital policies to find out exactly why those safety checklists failed. And these investigations often uncover root failures. We're talking extreme surgical team fatigue, a break in the sterile field, or honestly, sometimes simply a hospital's refusal to invest in available tracking technology, like RFID tags for their sponges. Because an object left inside you is such a clear-cut never event, the legal battle actually shifts. It moves from having to strictly prove negligence to determining exactly how much the case is worth. Firms like Powless Law Firm out in Indianapolis, they help victims shift this battle toward recovering damages. And this means securing compensation for the massive cost of those unplanned corrective surgeries, any lost wages from missing work, and of course, the immense pain and suffering caused by the hospital's failure.
I want to conclude with an urgent warning here. Do not sign any waivers or accept quick settlements from hospital risk management without legal counsel. These early offers, they are designed to protect the hospital's bottom line, not your long-term health. You absolutely have the power to protect your rights, demand proper counsel, and hold negligent providers fully accountable. But it really begs a chilling question the next time you or a loved one signs a surgical consent form. Who is actually making sure the surgical tray is empty before you're stitched back up? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.